Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the biggest nose, Jay-Z Courtside, coming at y'all today on October 31st. Happy Halloween, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great start to their Friday and a great start to your weekend. We had a great week of the NBA, and we got to wrap it all up today for the very last podcast of the week. I would like to formally apologize for the final time. This podcast was not recorded live. This stomach bug, this flu, whatever it is I have, I'm congested. I'm running to the bathroom. I am just not feeling good overall, but we got to get this podcast out no matter what. Okay, we're going to be breaking down 2 of the 4 games last night and talk about those. They were very entertaining in case you missed them. And then I want to talk about some trending topics. Are these trends going to continue in the NBA? I stayed away from topics that I've been speaking about a lot. But you know, they're fun new topics that we haven't really spoke about a whole lot just yet. As well as we are going to end the week, as we always do now. I say always, but it's been 2 weeks of doing full-time podcasts with Friday toss-ups that you guys submitted questions or stories for that matter, and then followed up with a question to my life. So before we get into all of this, be sure to, if you're listening on a podcast with Spotify or Apple, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. And if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. That helps more than you guys would possibly ever understand. And next week, we are returning to live podcasts, 9 a.m. Eastern on YouTube and Twitch. That's Jay-Z Uncut on Twitch, Jay-Z Courtside. Obviously, you guys know the YouTube channel. All the links will be down below in the show notes. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's get started with my personal favorite game from last night. The San Antonio Spurs, for the first time in NBA history, are starting the season 5-0. Can you believe that's an actual real statistic? I didn't think that was real. They even acknowledged the crowd after they won the game last night against the Heat. I didn't believe that was real. The Spurs took out the Heat 107-101, and it was a really entertaining game. The Spurs went on a big run. I believe a 14-1 run at the end of the third quarter, and it looked like they were running away with it. And then all of a sudden, the Heat come back and they go on a 17-1 tear in the first half of the fourth quarter. And that was ridiculous. I thought that was it. The Spurs just can't close games. They're still too young. And then all of a sudden, they put Wembanyama back in. Bam Adebayo had like 3 straight possessions going into the post and doing these little baby hooks. And he was looking great. Bam Adebayo had a great game. 12 for 17, not great shooting percentages. He settled for 13 threes. I didn't know he shot that much, but he had 31 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. Bam still had a good game, especially in that fourth quarter. He was everywhere, defensively and offensively. The Spurs put Wemby back in, and all of a sudden, Bam settled for two threes in a row. One clanked the backboard, not even close. The other one was an air ball. And then he shot another one late in the game that clanked off the backboard again. That should not discredit how good of a game it was for the Miami Heat. They still had help from Simone Fontecchio off the bench. He's playing starter minutes, 27 and a half minutes. Shot 5 for 9, hit 5 threes for 18 points. Wasn't doing that for the Pistons. Just saying. I think he had 2 games in double digits all last year for the Pistons. Maybe 3 tops. Khalil Ware is a name that I want to talk about just briefly. I thought when I was seeing this cat in the preseason, especially towards the tail end of last season, that we were about to see a different Khalil Ware. And he started last night. This guy, I don't know, man. I got fooled. This is why you should not listen to the preseason. He was a -20. Team's worst from last night. -20. He was 0 for 4 from the field, and he grabbed 7 rebounds. I expected a lot more from Khalil Ware, and what I'm seeing right now is honestly not what I don't think any of us were expecting this. I think Heat fans were super up on Khalil Ware until the start of the season, and yeah, he just has not looked right. He doesn't look like he can compete. Davion Mitchell had a decent game, 4 for 10. He had 11 points. But yeah, the highlights of the Miami Heat were definitely Bam Adebayo. And Andrew Wiggins, their steady veteran. I mean, he shot 11 for 18 on 61% shooting, hit a couple threes, 24 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. Andrew Wiggins is still proving that he's a great veteran on any NBA team. He reminds me of a Harrison Barnes for the Spurs, reminds me of a Tobias Harris for the Pistons. He's a great, steady vet that I think any team could use, and the Heat are taking advantage of him. Unfortunately for the Heat, they were missing Norman Powell and Tyler Hero, obviously. And I've talked about the Heat quite a bit, so I'm not going to dive too deep on them. I don't know what the Heat are going to look like towards the tail end of this season. Right now, they're not really like using the most basic play in the game, and that's a pick and roll, pick and pop. They're sort of just moving that ball around, and it's working. But I think once teams start figuring out their small offensive scheme, I feel like other teams will kind of catch up to what they're doing. But Miami fought till the very end. You know, they didn't give up. But on the other side, you saw him in the thumbnail. Victor Wembanyama, 10 for 23. Not that efficient of a night from him. 1 for 5 from deep, but he hit that one when they absolutely needed it the most. He hit it with, I think, like a couple minutes left in the game. That sort of sealed the game for them. He had 27 points, 18 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, and 5 blocks. 5 blocks. This is just becoming ridiculous. Ridiculous. They are second in the NBA in most blocks per game to the Pistons, who have the most blocks per game right now. Not per game, but most blocks so far this season. This guy, Wembanyama, is truly a sight to see. Like, I don't know if you guys watch, I don't know if you guys have League Pass. I don't know if you guys have the capabilities of watching Wemby when he's not on national television. I highly recommend you. Like, he is that good of a player. He is that entertaining of a player. He is like, can't miss TV. When Wemby's on the court, the attention that this kid brings is insurmountable. I mean, watching him, it just does not look like a real player. At the end of the game, that's a review of foul call. They fouled Wemby while he was driving to the hoop, and he flailed, and they reviewed it to see if it was a flagrant foul just because of how tall he is, how big he is, and how nasty the fall looks because of how big he is. Something that I don't see many people talking about Wembanyama right now. Obviously, they're mentioning the blocks. Obviously, they're mentioning the step back threes and the spin dunks. Like, this guy's insane. But something that I don't see a lot of people talk about is his attitude, his energy, his how enthusiastic he is this season. I didn't know Victor Wembanyama would be breaking out of his shell so fast, but he is. He's being that leader on the court. He's talking to everybody, making sure that everybody's talking to each other. And he's bringing some sort of energy that we never saw in him before. Champagnie didn't have a good game, 1 for 6. Let's see. Devin Vassell, he had a huge 3 at the end of the game that sort of halted the Miami Heat run. But he shot 6 for 16, 17 points. And Stephon Castle, 7 for 12. This kid, he's not getting the credit he deserves. Stephon Castle, Rookie of the Year last year. I mean, he is just impressing me every single night. 21 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 steals. This kid's very, very talented. Keldon Johnson always kills the Pistons whenever we verse the Spurs off the bench. So Keldon Johnson did his thing, 4 for 7, 11 points. Dylan Harper, again, great rookie, 5 for 10, 13 points, 4 assists. This Spurs team, the main reason I wanted to talk about them is because they aren't good. Now, I don't mean that they're a bad team. They're 5-0. They're obviously not a bad team, but they are not good. Like, they're young, right? They're not shooting at a prolific rate. 14 for 41 from deep. That's 34%. They're not, like, what I mean by this is, like, they're obviously not a bad team, but this is the worst we're going to see the San Antonio Spurs for decades to come. You know what I mean? And they're 5-0 for the first time in franchise history. This is also their first 5-game winning streak so far this decade. The Spurs are not a good team yet. Like, and they're winning. And they're winning convincingly in most games. Now, what I will say about the Spurs is this going to be sustained success? Right? Can they continue to do this, especially when they get De'Aaron Fox back? They don't even have their number 2 player. You know what I mean? The Spurs are a very interesting team. And, I'm going to talk about them a little later on when I talk about the trends. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But just think about that. Let that idea, just simmer in your head until we get to that topic later on in this podcast when I speak about the continued trends, if they're going to continue or not. So we will talk about the Spurs a little bit more towards the tail end of this podcast. All right. But up next, I want to talk about I guess I was going to call it game 2, but this game happened before that. It was the Warriors losing to the Bucks, mainly because of one name, and his name is Ryan Rollins. Ryan Rollins. I was thinking of Ron Holland in my head. Ryan Rollins, 32 points, career high. He shot 5 for 7 from deep, 13 from 21 from the field. Ryan Rollins. In case you guys don't know, Ryan Rollins was on the Warriors. He was their 2022 draft pick. I think second round draft pick. And apparently he stole like shampoo or body wash or something from a grocery store. And I don't know. They traded him. He was involved in the Jordan Poole trade. And all of a sudden, this is looking like a great pickup for the Milwaukee Bucks. They traded him to the Wizards and he landed on the Bucks. And, Giannis said it before this season, and I thought Giannis was just coping. And maybe he is. Maybe this is just like a hot start for this kid, right? But overall, with what he's doing, my apologies for all the podcast listeners if you guys see me like rubbing my eyes and stuff. I did not sleep well last night. I am not feeling well. So I'm not trying to speed through this podcast, but I'm not feeling the best I've ever felt. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice how congested I am as well. Ryan Rollins dropped 32 points, his career high. He's never had a 30-point game in the NBA before, and he did it against the Golden State Warriors, right? This is on a night without Giannis, without Kevin Porter Jr. Gary Trent Jr. shot 4 for 14. Kyle Kuzma, he had this horrible 3 to beat the shot clock at the end of the game. 4 for 10. AJ Green shot 3 for 7. He hit 3 threes. Huge 3, especially towards the end for AJ Green. Taurean Prince, 3 for 6. Cole Anthony, 7 for 15. Now, I'm not a fan of Cole Anthony personally because he dove recklessly and broke Jaden Ivey's leg, but I am a fan of him as a player. And obviously he didn't mean to do that. It's just like a petty grudge that I'm holding on him. I know it's not his fault. But Cole Anthony, I know the Magic are regretting. I know they miss Cole Anthony. The fact that he is actually running at point guard for the Milwaukee Bucks is absolutely devastating for the Orlando Magic because they're running Jalen Suggs at point. They don't have a point guard. They don't have a facilitator. And Cole Anthony is doing that right now for the Bucks. Bobby Portis, 5 for 10, did his thing off the bench. He's not looking that great this year, though. I'll be honest. I'm not impressed with Bobby Portis. He got that extension, and he's not really doing a whole lot. He thrives when Giannis is on the court, no lie, though. But the highlights of the Bucks were Miles Turner and Ryan Rollins. Miles Turner, 17 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, a block. Ryan Rollins, man, this kid came out of nowhere. Nobody expected this except for Giannis. At the beginning of the season, Giannis said, we have Ryan Rollins, we have Cole Anthony, we're good. Who believed that? Who believed that? I sure as hell didn't. And yet here he is. Here they are. And they're going crazy. What a huge win against the Warriors to put them to 4-1 on the season. Any win that I look at for like the Minnesota Timberwolves, for the Los Angeles Lakers, for the Milwaukee Bucks, without their star players, you should celebrate those wins so much more. So much more. I'm beyond excited to see what this team can do. I'm not sure how far they can go, but I'm pretty confident we can all lock them in the playoffs, right? So long as they have Giannis. I don't see this team falling into the play-in. I don't, because if they're doing this without Giannis, then yeah, I mean, I think they're fine. There's not even like a whole lot I can talk about what went wrong with the Golden State Warriors. They killed Milwaukee on the boards. Golden State had 45 rebounds. Milwaukee had 34. It's rare when you get out rebounded by like double digits and still lose by 10, you know? Another like major piece of props goes to Ryan Rollins on defending Steph Curry. Obviously, we all know nobody can guard Steph, but you can make him work to get his buckets. Curry had 27. I know it sounds like what? Curry had 27, but he shot 8 for 19 from the field, 4 for 10 from deep. He got to the line 8 times, missed one. Kuminga, 24 points, 7 for 11. He's definitely the best overall player for the Warriors last night. 24 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and a block. Unfortunately, he had 5 turnovers, but that's what happens when your offense isn't moving and he's forced to do more. You know, Kuminga needs to do less and he does better. You know what I mean? If he does less, he does more, if that makes sense. Jimmy Butler, 7 for 18, his worst game of the season. Sort of crazy that that's his worst game. Still dropped 23 points. Pods, 4 for 8, 1 for 3. He had 9 points. Moses Moody was 0 for 3. Al Horford, 1 for 6. Buddy Hield, 3 for 6. Will Richard, 2 for 2, their rookie. Gary Payton Jr., 0 for 1. Guy Santos, 1 for 2. So, like, the Warriors team wasn't that bad. Al had a bad night. But the Warriors played an overall decent game. For some reason, I don't understand why. The Golden State Warriors have dropped their games against they lost against the Trailblazers and now the Bucks. So they're losing to these teams that they really shouldn't because they beat the Clippers. Or no, my apologies. They beat where can I see their wins and losses? I'm looking at this website. History, perhaps. Nope, that's not it. Okay, well, just know I remember they beat the Nuggets. They beat the Lakers. So they're beating good teams. But they're just not beating these, like, you know, mediocre teams, right? The mediocre teams. Yeah, I think they beat the Clippers, the Grizzlies, the Nuggets, and Lakers, I believe. And then they lost to Milwaukee and Portland. So, I don't know, man. Weird. Very, very weird. But yeah, all credit where credit is due to the Milwaukee Bucks. They did their thing. And without Giannis, like, this win just means so much more. They moved to 4-1. Like, that's massive. The Warriors fall to 4-2. Honestly, I wouldn't worry too much if I were the Warriors. I think they just played down to their competition. And I feel like they have been doing that for the past few years, where they don't take the lesser teams equal, or they don't take them as serious as the good teams. They probably saw that Giannis wasn't playing and they just, you know, they let their foot off the gas, and that's just human nature, right? They're not going to take something serious if it doesn't look like it. But then Ryan Rollins drops his career high 32 points on your head. This guy's impressing the hell out of me. And I'm very excited to see what more he could do. Like, can he progress off of this? He's a young guy. I don't see why not. AJ Green was a great re-sign for the Milwaukee Bucks. He's a great stretch player next to Giannis. Giannis needs to be surrounded with shooters, and hey, it's working. The Warriors hit 13 threes. The Bucks hit 19. I mean, it's just a math game, right? Sorry, taking a sip of my green tea. It just comes down to math. I mean, if the team hits that many threes versus how many you've hit, 19 versus 13, it's typically going to end in a win. And the Milwaukee Bucks did it. They did their thing last night. I don't really have any other takeaways from this game. It's not like the Warriors played that bad of a game. They still dropped 110. But yeah, I mean, they just didn't hit as many threes. They were 13 for 38. It happens. Good teams drop these games. Now, as I said, this podcast isn't going to be that long compared to our usuals. So that's on me, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just not feeling great. Massive migraine on top of this as well. Next, I want to move into this topic that will last longer than just breaking down those games. Will this trend continue? The Spurs hot streak. Now, we have 3 trends that I want to speak about. So this is the first one. The Spurs have started 5-0. And that's undeniable. You can't take that away from them. The issue that I see with the Spurs is their past schedule. If you guys look up and down their schedule and what they've gone up against this regular season, let me just read you their wins. They smacked the Mavericks. They beat the Pelicans. Actually, let me even slow this down even more. The Mavericks are not a playoff team. They smacked them. The Pelicans, they beat them. They're not a playoff team. In fact, one of the worst teams in the league. Up next was the Brooklyn Nets. Beat them. They're not a playoff team. And then the Toronto Raptors smacked them. They are not currently a playoff team, and they look more like a play-in team at best. And then last night, they beat the Miami Heat. For now, a playoff team. For now, my guess is probably play-in. But I mean, hey, with how weak the East is, maybe they'll make the play. I would not be surprised when they get Tyler Hero back that they do increase their productivity. I mean, they're just lights out right now from deep. They're the best 3-point shooting team in the league, so I don't really see that taking that big of a dip. The Miami Heat knows how to get the best out of each of their players, so maybe they're a playoff team. But let's just look at that whole list. Out of their 5 games, they beat one kind of playoff team in the Miami Heat. Let's look at their schedule. Sunday, they're against the Suns, not a playoff team. Wednesday, they're against the Lakers, currently a playoff team, but they are still missing Luka and LeBron. But they have Jake LaRavia and Austin Reeves, so who cares, right? And then here's when the NBA Cup starts. Friday, November 7th for the Spurs. They are up against the Rockets. And then, obviously we know Rockets playoff team, right? And then the Pelicans again. Bad team. And then the Bulls. Hey, we all thought play-ins. They're undefeated. We will be talking about them next. And then the Warriors, and then the Warriors again, and then the Kings, Grizzlies. Do you see the pattern I'm getting at? Their schedule really doesn't have a hard stretch. I'd say, like their stretches are just like 3, maybe 2 games at best where they're up against playoff teams. I don't really see like their next point where they're going to have a tough stretch of the schedule, but that's what I want to see from the San Antonio Spurs. I want to see them do this against good teams. Because like they're doing a good thing. And this is not me discrediting the Spurs whatsoever and how talented they are right now. But something that you guys need to pay attention to is being a young team, they are doing what they're supposed to do. You are beating the teams that you should beat. And that is like the most important stepping stone for a young NBA team. A lot of teams, they struggle at beating the teams that they should beat. Last year, the Pistons were, they started the season iffy. They were like 5 games below 500, maybe 6 at most at one point. And they lost to the Utah Jazz when the Jazz were horrible last year, at home as well in Detroit. And then that loss sort of woke them up because they were losing to teams that they should have been beating. That loss woke them up. They went on the West Coast trip, beat the Lakers, beat the Kings, beat the Suns. And then they lost in Denver. And then they lost Jaden Ivey due to injury. And then that's when they started beating the teams that they should beat. So the Spurs have learned this very, very quickly. And this year, they're 5-0 against teams that they should beat. The Heat put up a fight. But they are beating these teams that they should. And that's a great step in the right direction for the San Antonio Spurs. So I'm not trying to discredit their early success whatsoever. I'm very happy for them. I think everyone is rooting for the San Antonio Spurs. And I hate the Spurs as a franchise just because they beat the Pistons in 2005. But talking purely about this team, they are doing more than what we all expected. Nobody expected them to be 5-0. Like, we didn't expect Wemby to have this big of a jump in his 3rd year. And yet he's doing it. Stephon Castle's been incredible. Vassell's been great. Keldon Johnson off the bench. Champagnie's been a great pickup for them. I said Champagnie's going to be a great pickup for anybody, and they picked him up. Harrison Barnes, that veteran leadership that he has, he is their safety blanket. And I think that's a great safety blanket to have. He's a champion. A long time ago, but he's a champion. The Spurs' success, will it continue? I'm going to say yes. The Spurs hot streak will continue until they're up against a tough stretch. Like I said, they're up against the Lakers and Rockets in 2 games in a row. I think that's a difficult enough stress test. I think that's good enough to see, hey, are the Spurs for real? And I think that's great. So I think, yes, this trend will continue. I think at worst, as long as they're healthy, this is all being healthy. We're not accounting for injuries. When healthy, I think the Spurs are at worst a play-in team in the West. In the East, obviously playoff, but in the West, at worst, they're a play-in team, which nobody, I remember we all went into this year saying play-in is the hope. Play-in is the dream for the Spurs. Just get some playoff experience by being in the play-in. They're at the top of their conference right now, up there with OKC, who's also undefeated. That we're not talking about because it's OKC, even though they're doing it without J-Dub and like half their roster, half of their rotation has been out. I think this trend will continue. I think this is one of the few trends that will continue. I think the Spurs' success, they're only going to grow each game. As I said, this is the worst the Spurs are going to look all year. Right now is the worst they're going to look. De'Aaron Fox comes back and their offense is only going to be more lethal. Because I think the one thing that they lack right now is that pick and roll with a pop, or that pick and roll with an actual like spot up shooter with De'Aaron Fox at the helm. When De'Aaron Fox brings the ball up the court, gets a screen from Wemby, he will shoot that initial three early in the shot clock a lot, and he will hit it. De'Aaron Fox is he's a much better career-wise percentage shooter than so far Stephon Castle showed us and Devin Vassell, who right now are involved in most of the screen action. That's not to discredit them. It's just because De'Aaron Fox is a vet at this point. So I think, I really think De'Aaron Fox will help them a lot. And I think the Spurs could lock in a play-in at minimum, playoff spot at best. Yeah, man, the Spurs are very, very fun to watch. I think that trend will continue. Let's move on to our next topic of discussion. Will this trend continue? The Bulls' continued dominance. A lot of you guys don't know, but the Chicago Bulls are undefeated right now. They're undefeated. And there's sort of one reason, and a lot of people are not talking about this. I haven't seen a single person tweet out about this. There's a big reason why the Chicago Bulls are undefeated. There's two, actually. One, they're deep. This is a deep team. And I think we've all learned in today's NBA, you need a deep roster to win a championship. Look at the last few champions, right? The Lakers were deep back in the bubble. The Bucks were deep in 2021. The Warriors were deep as hell in 2022. The Nuggets were, I mean, they were deeper than the Miami Heat, who they beat in the finals. 2024, the Boston Celtics were deep as hell. They always dug into their bench. And then obviously the Thunder, deepest team we've seen, arguably in NBA history. It's ridiculous how deep that team is. Going into the playoffs, you shorten those you shorten the people who play, like 7 to 8 players typically, right? Just your 8 best players. But having those players that can just come in and be a spark plug, whether it's offensively or defensively, that's what the Bulls have right now. The Bulls roster up and down right now. They got a lot of players. They're 10, 11 deep, and they're great. And their top guys are balling right now. Josh Giddey is damn near averaging a triple-double like he did at the end of last season. He's averaging 19.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, and about 8 assists. Like, this kid's playing incredibly well. They got a steal on him for that contract extension. Josh Giddey's been balling. My boy Montes Buzelis is shooting threes, averaging 17 points, 5 rebounds, 1.5 assists. Montes Buzelis is incredible. Kevin Huerter is having a career comeback, right? Like, this team is deep. I didn't even mention Vucci, baby, but he's turned back the clock. 18.5 points, 13.5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal. Like, he's playing incredible. The second reason why the Chicago Bulls are winning, get ready, because I guarantee you guys don't know this stat. The opponents the Chicago Bulls have gone up against are shooting a league worst at 25% from deep. Did you know that? 1 out of every 4 threes that their opponents are taking are going in. Not just that. The teams that they're up against right now are attempting the least amount of threes per game. 27 threes a game. 3 points made. 7 threes are made against them in every game they've played. Again, that ranks number 1 in the NBA. The 3 most important stats right now in modern day NBA, 3-pointers made against them, they lead at number 1. 3-pointers attempted against them, they lead at number 1. 3-point percentage against them, they lead at number 1. 7 makes against them, 27 attempts against them, 25% are made against them. Listen, Billy Donovan is a good head coach. He's a good head coach. He always brings the most out of the teams that he coaches. He always does. And right now, they have a technique, they have a strategy that they're doing that I don't know. I don't want to call Billy Donovan a genius here, but their interior defense is horrible. Horrible. Their interior defense is awful. Like bottom of the league. Yeah, bottom 5 in the league at defending the rim. Vucci Baby is not a high flyer. He's not going to jump up and block shots. But what they're doing is they are just locking up the perimeter and just inviting their opponents to drive to the rim and just try your luck. That's it. You'll get some open layups. You'll get some nice dunks. You'll get a Kareem hook, but we're not going to give you a 3. So the Bulls right now are literally playing math. They're just saying, we'll just outmath you. 3's worth more than 2. We'll take a lot of 3s like we did last season. We'll take more 3s than we did last season. And yeah, you can have those 2s. And that's what's happening right now. They're just outmathing their opponents. Not just that, the energy that they're bringing to the court is just, they're always just outmatching their opponents. They are just running it and running it and running it. This was such a slow team for the last 4 years. Obviously, with the players that they had, DeRozan, Zach LaVine, they were slow. And they're playing up and down the court. Matas Busal's got them running. Josh Giddey's got them running. Like, this team is fun. Even Trey Jones, man. So that is the reason why the Bulls are seeing so much success. Whether it's intentional or not, it's happening. So will the Bulls' continued dominance continue? Will the Bulls' dominance continue? No, I don't see it happening. Call me a hater. I don't see it happening. Listen, if I were to just gas up every single team in the NBA, then everybody would be a playoff contender. Everybody would be. I got to be critical about a lot of teams. And the Chicago Bulls, I don't see that being sustainable. I don't see teams shooting 25% against them from deep. These are literally like 1980s 3-point percentages and attempts against them. I'm not kidding. Go look at the 1980s. 7 made threes averaged against them. 25% from deep. This is 1980s. This is not 2020s. So no, as good as the Bulls have been, I do not see this being a trend. Sorry, Bulls fans. That's just the honest truth. With the stats I pulled as well, it makes sense why they're winning, but I don't see it continuing. I'm sorry. I'm still rooting for y'all though. I know you guys are our division rivals, but I'm still rooting for y'all. Fun story. Love it. The NBA needs more of these. For our final trend of this podcast, they're in quotes. If you are a podcast listener, what I'm about to say are in quotes. The Thunder are going back to back. End quote. This is what everyone's saying right now. And that's why I have it in quotes. I know this is sort of tricky, but this is sort of a trend for 2 teams. This was sort of like a cheat code, so I don't have to do 4 of these trends. I can just do 3 because I'm about to be talking about 2 teams in particular here. Let's start with the Thunder. The Thunder, they're undefeated. They're looking great. They're doing all of this without Chet in a game or 2. They're doing all this without J-Dub even touching the court yet. They're doing all this without Isaiah Joe, Kenrich Williams. This is just off the dome. I'm sure I'm going to forget somebody. They're doing this without a bunch of their role players, like rotational guys. And they're just bringing guys off of their third strings, and they're playing and they're doing well with AJ and Aaron Wiggins. Like this team is looking so good. And yet they're missing half the rotation. So, quote, the Thunder are going back to back, end quote. I can't buy it. The reason I can't buy it is because one team in particular has my attention. And I feel like nobody's talking about them just because they lost their season opener in Golden State. The Denver Nuggets. The Denver freaking Nuggets. Nobody's talking about them because they dropped that first game in Golden State. They have beat, and of course, they're not up against the craziest competition here. But they lost against Golden State. They beat Phoenix. They beat Minnesota. They beat the Pelicans, right? Nobody really wants to talk about this team. but I will. The Denver Nuggets are second in points scored right now, 128 points per game, 10th in rebounding, first in assists, 32 assists, 32. They're also first in field goals made. They're first in field goal percentage. Their team is shooting 53%. They're shooting 90% from the free throw line, and that's number one in the league. And then they're also number one at true shooting percentage at 64%. Now, the reason I see this team and just I'm blown away is because I said right away that Tim Hardaway Jr., Bruce Brown, Jonas Valanciunas are going to be key components to this team. We all know Jamal Murray, what he's going to bring. He's finally healthy, and he's bringing it. He's averaging 27 points per game, leading their scoring. Jokic is averaging a 20-point triple-double right now. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. They're just numb to his greatness. He's not shooting it good from three at all. Jokic is shooting his career worst from three. Would you guys believe he's shooting, I think, 10% from deep? He's shooting 10% from deep. Actually, let me get the exact stat. I don't want to lie on Jokic's name. All right, he's shooting 16%. Not much better than what I said, but 16% from deep. Like, on way more attempts than he normally takes. He's attempting 4.5 right now. Listen, guys, the Denver Nuggets right now are undisputed my personal favorite in the NBA. They are just that good. Christian Braun got his swag up, grew a beard, got a buzz cut. He's looking good on the court. Hey, he's looking good off the court. Christian Braun's balling right now. He just needs to up his three-point percentage. Aaron Gordon, we all know he's averaging 21.5 points per game. Cam Johnson hasn't even started clicking yet. Once Cam Johnson really gets used to this system, I don't see how this team isn't going to go all the way. Tim Hardaway Jr., I said, is going to look like one of the best shooters in the league right now. He's shooting 48% from three, averaging 11.5 points per game off the bench. Was not doing that with Detroit because he was asked to start. Plus, he has the gravity of Nikola Jokic. I said it. Bruce Brown shooting 50% from deep, averaging 5.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 2 assists. Jonas Valanciunas, my GOAT, 8.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. This team is deep. They still have Julian Strawther. They still have Jalen Pickett. They still have Peyton Watson. Like, this team is so nice, and yet nobody is talking about them. So, quotes, the Thunder are going back to back. I don't believe in that trend. The Nuggets on a far worse roster, injured roster with MPJ and Aaron Gordon, only lost in 7 against the Oklahoma City Thunder last year. You're trying to tell me that it's just going to be a landslide, that everyone thinks that the first team to go back to back in the last 7 years is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder? No, they could. They're very good. They're only going to get better. But I think people are underrating the Denver Nuggets extremely because they don't find Jokic attractive as far as like a, swaggy player like all the other superstars in the league, like Anthony Edwards, Wembanyama, all those guys, right? And I think losing that game 1 in Golden State to start the season off sort of just took them off the radar for everybody. Nobody's really paying attention. The Nuggets are them, man. They are good, and I think they were my personal favorite going to win it all at the beginning of the year. I said it before the season started. I got the Nuggets winning it. Guys, that's all the NBA we're going to be talking for this podcast. Let's start with our Friday toss-ups. Now, in case you guys... Oh, I pressed the wrong button. In case you guys don't know what Friday toss-ups are, when we're live, we, throughout the week, I want you guys to ask questions in the chat. So share a story and then ask a question, and that's how this works. So I'm going to be reading some stories from my viewers that left these stories in the chat when we're live. So tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, not only to watch this stuff live while you're at work or school or whatever, but to also submit your Friday toss-ups, because we're going to be doing this every single Friday through however long we're doing this podcast. Friday toss-ups. I want this to be something that you guys look forward to. All right. The first one I have is from a viewer of mine, B. Swanee. He watches on Twitch. He said, I got hit by a car once when I was leaving a Devils game where they lost in overtime and broke my leg in multiple places. Jay-Z, when have you ever experienced physical pain and mental pain of the same level? That's tough. First of all, hope you recovered well from that, Swanee. That's tough. Honestly, that's a very tough question. Physical pain and mental pain at the same level. I would say when the Pistons, I said no more basketball. When the Pistons lost last playoffs against the Knicks, I was just repeatedly punching my couch, might have threw my shoulder out, and I was just in shambles. I couldn't believe that we lost that. Even when I flew up to Detroit to watch games 3 and 4. Honestly, like the amount of screaming I was doing, I shredded my vocal cords until there was nothing left, and my heart was just in pain. So yeah, I think that's my answer. I was broken. Like I honestly couldn't smile for a few weeks after the Pistons lost. It was just the way they lost that it hurt, man. It hurt. Next one up we have from Jerry in the YouTube stream. So shout out to you YouTube viewers and you Twitch viewers. I appreciate y'all, man. He said, this isn't really a story of his own, but I sort of like this. He said, Aaron Gordon converted a warehouse into his house, put a half-court basketball in there, and just get some shots up while he can't sleep or when he's thinking too much. Sorry, there's some typos in here. What's a weird place that you'd want to live in? Wow. Okay. I heard that story. I didn't know Aaron Gordon actually converted a warehouse into his house. But I have heard that I knew he had a basketball court in his house. I just didn't know it was like an actual converted warehouse. Does Aaron Gordon have a significant other? How do they feel about living in a warehouse? Huh. I got to do some research on Aaron Gordon. No wonder his shot got so good though. I mean, having a basketball court is only going to help, right? So what's a weird place that you'd want to live in? Huh. I think an airplane hangar. Maybe this is like my gamer talking, like my gamer self, but like hangars are sweet, man. Like they're sweet. I love the architecture of them, how they're just, I guess that's kind of a warehouse, isn't it? I mean, I guess I could say like a tree house or something, but I don't want to live in a damn tree. I think I'm gonna stick with a hangar. Like think about how big they are where planes go. I don't need to have a plane in there, but yeah, I guess that's sort of like a warehouse. Whatever. I think I'd want to live in a hangar. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Okay. Next one is from Q Supreme in the Twitch stream. He said, one time my friend got locked out of his house on purpose after getting fired from his job. It was like 3 a.m, but that's my boy. So I pulled up to be there for him. What's a time you came through for your friend? I mean, hey, good on you, man. Good on you. 3 a.m, that's tough. What's the time that I came through for a friend? I've came through for a lot for my friends, but I don't think there's like one moment in my life where I feel like stands out above the rest. Maybe like I was the first one to get the license out of all my friends. So like I would just drive us all around, like wherever. Maybe that. Yeah. It was for a couple of years as well. My boy Leo, shout out Leo. Yeah, he didn't get his license until he was like 18. So I got mine when I was 16. So I was just driving him everywhere, driving everyone everywhere. My birthday's in March, so it was earlier than a lot of people's birthdays. So like they had to wait till they were 16. Some of them had to wait till they were 17 just to get their license. So I'd say just driving them. I'm not that deep of a guy, so probably just driving them around for that good bit before everyone else caught up and got their licenses. Anyways, y'all, that is Friday toss-ups. So be sure to help me out next week so that we can get more of these. Hopefully, eventually, we can do like 5 of these to end the Friday podcast. But that is all that I got for y'all today. I hope that I get better throughout the weekend. I got a new streaming PC, recording PC, whatever you want to call it, built from Micro Center. So I actually have to drive to Charlotte, which is a little over 2 hours from me. And if I still have the symptoms that I'm currently been going through, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go pick that up. Hopefully I can, so I can start adding some more visuals and all this stuff that just my PC can't handle right now. Guys, that's going to do it. If you did enjoy, podcast listeners, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. YouTube watchers, listeners, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. It would help more than y'all can possibly understand. We are also posting a new documentary on our main YouTube channel, Jay-Z Uncut, tomorrow. So if you're watching this today on the 31st on Halloween, we have a new video dropping tomorrow. It's about the 6 players drafted ahead of Steph Curry. So don't miss out on that. All of the links, my Twitter, our Discord server, join the damn Discord server. Everything will be linked down below. That's going to do it for the week, y'all. I want to say thank you. I messed up my outro. I'm sorry. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And as always, guys, thank you for watching / listening. We will be back Monday morning live at 9 a.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. And I'll see y'all then. Happy Halloween, everybody, and have a great rest of your weekend.